Hey, Jim.
I don't need you to get that low. I don't want to be in the shot. How you doing?
Good. What kind of day is this?
January.
January.
Yeah. Feels good. Did this 2 days ago. Yeah, I know.
It's really nice. The only one who will ask you, I'm Jen. I'm very good. Well, I'm a big fan of yours. We were just singing his name. Like we just pass along any messages. Yeah, we know. Yeah, so they are.
The bear or something is true. You know. John, we good on audio?
I'm going to chat now. Testing, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2. I don't think I missed anybody, but
Was there a specific mic you'd like us to?
this is the sound mic. The rest of the mics are for the media and for the recording. Yeah, I couldn't have had Tuesday, right? No.
I feel like you just got acclimated to it.
That's so true.
I spent so much time indoors for something anyway that they ever really got acclimated to that either.
So Ian works with me and Walter in the office of regional administrator. As I'm sure you know, she's doing a special assistant position. So I get to work with her regularly. Right
Okay,
now.
I thought you meant my daughter Janie.
Oh no, sorry.
So Anne, yeah, okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
I was wondering how Jane knows everybody. But she's our chief of staff.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Both done pretty well.
Yeah.
They'll never understand how many years I spent out in the field.
Just so you know, they're just bragging about Anna, so it's fine.
Which did he say was the live right here, the red one? The long one.
This top one. So guys, you have to tell us about
She's fine. So I was afraid to bring the paper. So where do you do that? So I put it on my iPad. That has its flaws too. Yeah. Yeah.
this shot of First Lady walking from her car to the stage. Really? No. She's doing this. Oh yeah. I mean. Yes, please. Beth, I have you up here. Okay. Is that her? I think that's the mayor. Thank you.
If we can have the speakers make their way to the stage at this time, please.
Hello, how are you? Oh, good. It's a little chilly. Thank you for being here. Yes. Okay. I was on the stage with my son, but I don't clear out this.
Whatever, okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to Woodbridge, the best town around. My name is John McCormick. I'm the mayor of this great town, and we're here today for a very momentous occasion and welcoming several people from Trenton to Woodbridge to share in the success of this project. First, I want to say Happy Earth Day to everyone. I would also like to welcome all these youngsters, these boys and girls that are getting a day off of school. You need a day off of school, right? You've been in school for so long. But they're here today to witness their moms and their dads in action. And what you're witnessing is exactly the way government is supposed to work in the state of New Jersey. You've got the town of Woodbridge with the mayor's office and the town council. If you're not in fourth grade yet, that's the executive branch and the legislative branch. And you've got the state of New Jersey, all different departments, particularly the DEP. And you've got the governor's office here. And you've got the legislative branch represented. So this is exactly what's supposed to happen when government tries to get things done. This was an area that was devastated 8 years ago in Superstorm Sandy. The DEP came in, and I have to give special mention to Fawn McGee and her staff because she worked with us for the past 8 years and just was amazing. We had so many town meetings. Everybody was afraid. This is their livelihood. This was their home. They were getting destroyed all the time. Even when it didn't rain, if it was high tide and a full moon, this flooded because the water rose from the creek. So this was a very difficult area. And the DEP came in and with the Blue Acres program bought 166 homes for $39 million, supervised the demolition, worked with us every step of the way, and all those people got the chance to sell their homes for fair value, and most of them stayed in Woodbridge, which is very fortunate. So this is an example of a total success story. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Rutgers University and Brooke Maslow. They became our partners and worked with us every step of the way for the past 8 years, and they're still working with us, and they're still taking homes down. One down the street just got taken down this week. So this is an ongoing problem, and I just want to thank everybody involved, the state of New Jersey, the DEP, Rutgers, and all of the town people. We have a couple of council people here, Lisbeth DeJesus and Vera Patel. We have our Chief of Staff, Carol Ehrlich, our Business Administrator, Vito Samaluka, our great Department of Public Works, which worked in this project for so long. We have Stacy, who works in emergency management, Patrick Kenny. Thanks to you to everybody to make this happen. I'd like to now introduce a young lady who has been very instrumental in the environmental cause in the state of New Jersey. From the very first day when her husband was sworn in as governor, Tammy Murphy has been a conscience for the environment. I can remember back going to seminars and meeting her, and she was presenting and she was organizing and helping and just doing so many great things for the state and for the environment. And then Carol and I accepted an award from her, the Energy Star Award program, a couple of years ago. She has just been a terrific voice in the state of New Jersey for the environment, and it gives me great pleasure for the first time in my career to ever introduce such an esteemed First Lady. Ladies and gentlemen, Tammy Murphy.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Great. All right. So, happy Earth Day. And given it is also Take Your Child to Work Day, I am thrilled that we have some young partners and future climate advocates with us today. So welcome to all of our younger generation. Mayor McCormick, thank you so much for your introduction and for welcoming us all to Woodbridge. It's an honor to be here with Acting Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Protection, Sean Monterette, and Director of the Council on Green Economy, Jane Cohen, and her son Otto, and our partners in the legislature and the Environmental Protection Agency as we take another step forward to protect New Jersey from the threats of climate change. Climate change is the single greatest long-term threat currently facing humanity. And it's not happening in a far-off place. It's happening right here in New Jersey. In fact, because of our geographic location and our population density, responding to the reality of climate change is not a choice, it's absolutely a necessity. New Jersey is a living laboratory. We have dense cities, diverse rural communities, robust forests and parks, waterways, mountains, and aquifers bordered by our magnificent coastline. And it's impossible to ignore the more frequent and intense storms, rising sea levels, severe flooding, and extreme temperatures that we experience firsthand as a result of climate change. These adverse consequences affect our communities, our health, our economy, and our natural resources. Despite that, I am incredibly optimistic for our future and our ability to lead the nation in combating the climate crisis. Over the past several years, our administration has made many exciting announcements to position New Jersey at the forefront of the climate movement. We have set an ambitious goal of reaching 100% clean energy by the year 2050. We are building wind ports and offshore wind manufacturing facilities. We are the first, and so far only state in the nation, to incorporate climate change education across all K-12 learning standards. We have enacted the country's strongest environmental justice laws, and we have the newly formed Council on the Green Economy, which I have the honor of chairing and working alongside the incredible Jane Cohen, to ensure that every decision regarding climate action is made with a constant and unyielding focus on achieving equity. Every single one of these pieces fits together to address the impact of climate change here in New Jersey and to make us a national leader in our fight against the climate crisis. Today, we take another real step in that fight by establishing a roadmap to better protect us from these threats. The Climate Resilience Strategy shows that we can and must work together to protect our present and our future. None of this would be possible without the responsible and effective leadership that we've shown so far. I am so grateful to the incredible team we've assembled at the Department of Environmental Protection and across government, agencies, and industries to help us in this effort. And on that note, it is now my honor to introduce one of our greatest partners and my friend, Assemblywoman Yvonne Lopez. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, First Lady Tammy Murphy. I appreciate your kind words. Good morning, everyone, and happy Earth Day. Just imagine, yesterday we had 65-degree weather, and today we're sitting here, 30-degree weather. I look forward to touring the Blue Acres site in Woodbridge and seeing the incredible work of the New Jersey DEP in action. Today is Earth Day, and after a year of devastating wildfires, brutal hurricanes, and record-setting winter storm events, I think we can all agree that climate change policy and green initiatives must remain a priority in New Jersey and in this country. The theme of this year's Earth Day is Restore Our Earth. And I can say that New Jersey has certainly remained a committed leader in the innovative strategies and policies needed to restore and reverse the ongoing toll of climate change. New Jersey is not immune to the effects of climate change, and our communities are already being impacted by increasing temperatures, rising sea levels, and more intense storm events. Touring today's Blue Acres site, I am not only reminded of the devastation Hurricane Sandy wrought on our communities throughout the district, but more importantly, I'm reminded that we need to do everything in our power to protect New Jersey from climate change. As the former vice chair of the Assembly Environmental and Solid Waste Committee, I can attest to the amazing work the legislature has performed on addressing climate change head-on. And I'm glad that the DEP remains committed to complementing this work through initiatives like the Robust Climate Change Resiliency Strategy, a strategy that undoubtedly will strengthen our resilience and preparedness for generations to come. On Earth Day, I'm thankful that New Jersey remains grounded in science and committed to a future of sustainability. We continue to make progress as a state, but there's still work to be done. We all have a role in protecting our state and our planet, and through collaboration, we can defend the beauty of the Garden State for years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce, I guess, a Woodbridge native. He lived here for a long, long time, went to school here. Some of his family still lives here. We met several weeks ago, breakfast at the famous Rio Diner, where he came out and we talked about some of the projects in town that we had accomplished. We talked about some of the projects in town that we had going on, and Acting Commissioner of the DEP, Sean LaTourette, really understands that you can have economic development with environmental protection, and that is so important. I go back and we talked about a project 8 years ago in town with 100 acres of very contaminated soil on the Casby waterfront, the Raritan River, and that turned into 40 acres, became a power plant, 60 acres became a waterfront park, and that probably will open next year. So those are the kind of things that I know that we got done years ago and that we're still working on, that he understands, because he's got that great vision for what New Jersey can become, and he recognizes that everybody has to work together to protect the environment. We do need the cooperation of the business community. And then he spent a couple hours with us touring sites in Woodbridge while we showed him what's going on and what we needed help with. And I can't think of the last time I talked to a commissioner for 3 straight hours and had him or her out in town talking to us. It was just remarkable, and I want to thank him for that, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of my career with him as the commissioner of the DEP. Ladies and gentlemen, Sean LaTourette.
Well, thank you for that, Mayor. It is good to be home. And thank you, First Lady, to Jane Cohen, the Governor's Office of Climate Action and the Green Economy. Without your leadership, the two of you, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be accomplishing all we are in New Jersey in the fight against climate change, both from the perspective of bringing down the emissions of greenhouse gases that further endanger us, particularly here in New Jersey, where we are ground zero for some of the worst impacts of climate change. But at the same time that we're working to reduce our emissions through great initiatives like offshore wind and deploying investments like the recent $100 million we poured into electric vehicles, particularly in environmental justice communities. Despite all of that hard work, we have to get ready for what is happening here today in our state and what we know is to come. I want to thank the mayor for his hospitality as always. And I want to thank Fawn McGee of DEP's Blue Acres program, because where we're standing right now is an example of how we build resilience. We need to look at our environment in a different way. And the report that we are releasing today, New Jersey's Climate Change Resilience Strategy, sets the framework for the conversations that we all need to engage in together, to look further down the road, to get better at doing that thing that we always say we'll do, but it's a little hard, which is to think about our kids and their kids and their kids, and make sure that what we're doing today, what we're building and how we're developing, how we're facilitating all of these great projects, finding that unity between economic development and environmental protection. We want to make sure that what we build stands the test of time, that it's here for all these young people. And we can do that, but we can only do it together. And so I'm grateful to have been a member of the Interagency Council on Climate Resilience established by Governor Murphy under Executive Order 89, and to have appointed the state's first Chief Resilience Officer in the person of Dave Rosenblatt, who will speak to us shortly about the Climate Change Resilience Strategy and the 6 key priorities that it lays out. This strategy is the beginning of the beginning. It sets 6 key priorities that we should organize our public discourse around, consider future legislation or policy change or regulatory changes that will help make New Jersey stronger, addressing issues like how do we promote coordinated governance? How do we build resilient coastlines? How can we make sure that we're deploying climate-informed investments so that what we build today can stand the test of time, so that we don't have to buy out repeatedly flooded areas? Because we are a strong state, we are a smart people. We have tackled many a challenge, and we will tackle this one as well. But we will only do it together. So to describe how we're going to go about that, it is my pleasure to introduce the state's Chief Resilience Officer, Dave Rosenblatt.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thanks to Mayor McCormick for hosting this event and our many partners here that are here to support us, this important announcement. As New Jersey's Chief Resilience Officer and Vice Chair of the Interagency Council on Climate Resilience, I'm very pleased to join the Commissioner in presenting the draft Climate Resilience Strategy, which is now on DEP's website. I'm very grateful for the collaboration of all the members of the Interagency Council. The first iteration of the Resilience Strategy is the structure that will support and direct the public discourse we will need to further the state's adaptation to climate change. The proposed actions are the first of many that will need to be developed by state agencies with public input. Lots of public input. We look forward to implementing the actions, evaluating our progress, and having the public share in the process. In the strategy, the Council outlines 6 state priorities, each of which include policy actions to guide state agencies' efforts to protect people, structures, business, and the environment. It also addresses important policy and regulatory changes necessary to strengthen New Jersey against today's climate threats. These priorities, 1 through 6. 1, build resilient and healthy communities. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Making sure our communities, our people are secure against the impacts of climate change. Every municipality will be encouraged to integrate climate change into local planning, regional transportation planning, hazard mitigation, housing, and other infrastructure planning. 2, strengthen the resilience of New Jersey's ecosystems, not just for the intrinsic value they have, but also for the ways they help us with flood control management, the reduction of impacts from coastal storm surges, if you're talking about marine wetlands. 3, promote coordinated governance. All right, we have 565 municipalities. It'll be great if they're all pushing and pulling in the same direction with the same knowledge, with the same intent. So we're going to spend a lot of time working with municipalities, counties, regional government agencies, and in fact all the agencies in the state too, to make sure we are doing just that, pushing, pulling in the same direction. Invest in information and increase public understanding. This is, of the 6, this may be one of the foundations of what we're doing. The public has to understand the science of climate change if they're ever going to understand the policies that we're going to enact, the changes that may impact their regular lives, the routine businesses. So we want to spend a lot of time with the public, making sure they understand the science. The first science report that we published was last summer, Scientific Report on Climate Change. It's on our website, and we've been encouraging everybody at every opportunity. If you can't read the 200 pages, read the 10-page executive summary. It's very good, concise, and that's really what you need to know. 5, expand resilience funding and financing. Well, this is not always going to be cheap. There's going to be money involved. But before we get to that, what we have to do is make sure that the money we're spending now as state agencies, as government agencies, county and local, that the money we spend now has an eye towards the future. New Jersey is going to look and feel different as we move to 2100, which is our planning horizon for the resilience strategy. So we want to make sure that we're putting, the money in the right place. Places that are not going to be underwater if we have 5 feet of sea level rise by 2100, or 2 feet of sea level rise by 2050. We want to be very cognizant of that in all our decision making at this point. And 6, the Coastal Resilience Plan. The standalone document that Executive Order 89 signed by Governor Murphy wants as a standalone document, which it is, but it's also Strategy 6 of the Resilience Strategy. Take all the 5 strategy sets that I talked about previously, and then focus them on the coastal area. That's what the Coastal Resilience Plan will look like. Why are we focused on the coast? Because of Sandy, because of the increased storms we expect to see in the near future because of climate change, and because of the threat that they pose every day that the coast has right now on us living in the coastal area. So it's the coast. The coast is always in our mind, probably because of Sandy, but it's the place where we're starting to see the impacts of climate change first. So this strategy is now online, available for public comment. I hope you'll join us in this continued collaboration by reviewing the strategy and providing your insight. As others have noted before, this requires collaboration and teamwork to truly protect New Jersey against climate threats. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce Jane Cohen, the Executive Director at the Governor's Office of Climate Action and the Green Economy.
Hope I can hold on to my papers here. Thank you, Mayor McCormick, for inviting us here on this perfect, balmy day. I'm so pleased to be here, especially with my partners and real leaders in the fight against climate change, First Lady Tammy Murphy and DEP Commissioner Sean LaTourette. And I see a lot of DEP staff out there, and just know that from the Governor's office, we are so appreciative of everything that you do to protect our environment every single day. There are a lot of stories out there about climate change, that it's something in the distant future, that it only impacts the coasts, that really it's just an environmental issue. As all of us who lived through Superstorm Sandy know, the effects of climate change are here now, and the science tells us that they're only getting worse. It's true that our coast will be hit hard by climate change, with at least 2 feet of sea level rise expected by 2050. But the impacts are not contained to the coasts. Between inland flooding, urban heat islands, and severe weather events, every New Jerseyan will feel the effects. The impacts to our environment, whether our rivers, our oceans, our forests, or our air, these affect our infrastructure, our economy, and ultimately our people. And climate change, like virtually every other issue, has a disproportionate impact on our most vulnerable communities. Which brings us to why we're here today. As chair of the Interagency Council on Resilience, and with the leadership of DEP, we brought our state agencies together to work toward a future that is truly protective of our present and our future. The collaborative multi-agency approach to creating our strategy reflects the Murphy administration's commitment to leveraging all of our state agencies and resources to both protect against climate threats while also capitalizing on the opportunities our response to climate change presents. Investments in clean energy and environmental infrastructure create good paying jobs for New Jerseyans, and investments in climate resilience protect the long-term economic viability of our businesses and communities. The New Jersey Council on the Green Economy, chaired by First Lady Tammy Murphy and with Commissioner LaTourette as a co-chair, will help make sure that as we transition to a green economy, all New Jerseyans will reap the economic benefits. And as today is not only Earth Day, but also Bring Your Child to Work Day, my son here and Commissioner LaTourette's daughter and to all the children, let me say, years from now, we will be able to look you in the eyes and say, we knew and we acted. And 20 years from now, when it's your turn to stand up here and to try to make the world a better place, hopefully our actions today will mean that climate change is not what you're talking about. It will just be one more thing that we protected you from. I'd like to thank Acting Commissioner LaTourette and our CRO, our Chief Resilience Officer, Dave Rosenblatt, for their leadership and their collaboration. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jane. Our last speaker is Anahita Williamson, the Senior Advisor at the Office of the Regional Administrator in the Environmental Protection Agency, Region 2.
Good morning and happy Earth Day. I have to say I am so happy to be at an in-person event, although my hands are frozen. And I do want to say especially happy Earth Day to all the little ones out here, all the children, because that's why I joined the EPA, to make the world more sustainable and better for all of you. So as mentioned, and thank you, Mayor, I'm Anahita Williamson, Senior Advisor in EPA Region 2, which serves New York, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, as well as 8 federally recognized Indian nations. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you here. Thank you, First Lady, Commissioner, and all the distinguished guests up here on the stage. I'm actually really looking forward to the tour after this event. Many of you may have heard that EPA is refocusing on climate change and on ways to combat it. This includes standing with New Jersey to address this state's vulnerabilities to the impacts of extreme weather, sea level rise, and increased flooding, as well as supporting mitigation measures and green infrastructure. The threat of flooding and damage to infrastructure will continue to increase over time. And as we all know too well, higher sea levels combined with larger storm surges erode the shoreline and flood, contaminate, and damage property and put lives at risk. New Jersey is taking a leadership role in developing a statewide climate resilience strategy, which you just heard so much about. New Jersey's strategy and the Blue Acres program are important steps to improve climate resiliency across the state. The Blue Acres program, so effectively used here in Woodbridge, recognizes the need to create open space in the wake of devastating storms and hurricanes like Superstorm Sandy. Confronting climate change is a challenging task, but one that we can use as an opportunity to protect and strengthen our economy, create jobs, and build a healthier and more equitable future. At EPA, we strongly support working collaboratively with local and state partners to help communities become more resilient and adapt to the challenges that we face. And how fitting that today, on the very day when we remember the importance of our Earth and its climate, is the day that New Jersey DEP unveils their plan, not just to combat climate impacts into the future, but to make New Jersey more resilient now. Thank you, and have a great Earth Day, everyone.
Thank you very much, Anahita. Since you represent the U.S. Virgin Islands, maybe next year you can hook us up down there for Earth Day instead of here. I want to thank everybody for coming out. We are very proud of what we've accomplished here in Woodbridge. We love showing it off. I want to thank all of our team. We are the most sustainable town in New Jersey for 11 of the past 12 years. There's a whole lot of people here that are responsible for that. We're going to take a tour now. I want to make sure people know Brooke Maslow here. She's from Rutgers, and Tom Flynn from our office. Oh, there you are. Oh, you look like her. Don't they look alike? It's not my fault. And Tom Flynn, our certified floodplain manager. Boys and girls, if you have any questions, these are people who are really smart and really know what they're doing. Please ask them, and you can learn a lot from them. So once again, I want to thank First Lady Tammy Murphy. I want to thank DEP Commissioner Sean LaTourette, everybody from the state government, the federal government, and the local government for coming out to here today to celebrate Earth Day and to see what happens, as I said in the very beginning, when everybody works together for the common good of the people in the town, the people in the state. This is what happens. Thank you all very much.
Mayor? Mayor?
Oh,
Thank you.
I thought you were Brooke.